It's now time for The Sit Down with Don Tony.
The Sit Down, where Don Tony talks one-on-one with his followers.
What are you looking at?
About the world of pro wrestling, pop culture, and so much more.
The Sit Down with Don Tony.
And now, your host, Don Tony.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. It is February 26, 2023. I am tired. I am Don Tony. I had to go to a 50th birthday party yesterday. My wife's brother turned 50. Actually today, but we had a party yesterday. Some Spanish restaurant called Cafe Ole in Long Island City. It's pretty good. Just those Ubers. Uber expensive. And then I think they went on strike today. So I don't know if it was them, but my mom says that they went on strike, so who knows. But I'm here. Let's get right into it. For those that know the deal, you know the instructions. For those that are new, it's simple. Every Wednesday night I show up with a blank piece of paper, and you choose the topics, you choose the questions. We will chat for about an hour. Could be wrestling, non-wrestling, whatever's on your mind. I will answer it. I will comment the best I possibly can, always straight up, whether people like it or not. And as always, super chats are never required, but they are very much appreciated. They help with obviously keeping these shows alive, and you will always get not only priority treatment going further, you get immediate treatment. The only thing I ask, though, and I kind of got to bring this up once in a while. If we're talking about Bailey, it's probably best to wait on sending me a super chat about Kenny Omega. You know what I mean? Like, if it's the topic at hand, it's probably easier to have that discussion. But if we segue into something else, absolutely ask whatever is on your mind. I probably can handle it. And you know what? Some people prefer to send some super chats before we go live because they want to be answered first, and that is cool with me. Sometimes when they send it really early, it gives me time to prepare. This one, though, I'm seeing literally as we are live right now. I want to give a special shout out to Big Sal with the $20 super chat. Thank you very much, Sal. Much appreciated. What would have been my picks? And I could tell already by some of these answers, these are the Wrestling Observer Awards. Thank God it's not all of them, but what would have been my picks? Okay, for those on audio only that don't see the screen right now, these are the results of a couple of categories, and Sal is asking me who I would have chosen. The readers of the Wrestling Observer chose Jon Moxley as Wrestler of the Year, FTR as Tag Team of the Year, AEW as Promotion of the Year, Match of the Year, Okada versus Will Ospreay, Women's MVP, Syuri, and the Feud of the Year, FTR versus the Briscoes, and the most underrated wrestler, Takeshita. All right. What would have been my picks? Well, I will tell you right off the bat, if you're going to choose FTR as Tag Team of the Year, then you got to give Wrestler of the Year to Roman Reigns. Period. The Bloodline, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes, everything that's going on right now, Paul Heyman, even the stuff with Brock. Remember, this is 2022. None of that would be where it is now without Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns, and the reason why I use FTR as part of the reason is because FTR did not have many matches last year. You look at their AEW record, they had, 7 matches? Now, obviously, we're not including Ring of Honor. We're not including IWGP or any other promotion out there. And even with those promotions, they didn't have that many. Look at their record. It is not as good. In fact, they closed out 2022 with 3 months of kind of like shit, with the exception of the Briscoes match. They closed out 2022 kind of shitty, man. Not their fault, obviously. I'm not throwing any shade towards FTR. FTR should have been Tag Team of the Year, but not. with the 2022 they had. Are you fucking kidding me? So if you're going to rate them FTR based on the number of matches they have, then you got to give Wrestler of the Year to Roman Reigns. Just because Moxley wrestled whatever number of matches he wrestled, doesn't, in my opinion, make him Wrestler of the Year. This is my opinion. And I want to throw this disclaimer out there. It's a disclaimer that's not very popular, but I will say it again. These are the readers of the Observer. These are not Meltzer. These are not Brian Alvarez coming up with these answers. These are the readers. Yes, there are AEW wrestlers, Japanese wrestlers, writers, besides fans that are readers of the newsletter. And if you notice, there's never an exemption like wrestlers are not allowed to apply. This is not allowed to. Anybody that is, I'm a subscriber to his newsletter. I could vote. I choose not to. And for people to get that upset about 400 votes, think about this. We got millions and millions of wrestling fans watching wrestling every week. And because 415 fans chose Tony Khan as promoter of the year, millions of fans supposed to get butthurt. My God, with all due respect, you're giving a lot of legitimacy to 415 people out there. That's the thing I think that people forget about this. When you see all these butthurt people making this passionate shit on social media, only 415 people voted Tony Khan. Not 45,000, not 10,000, not even 1,000, 415. People get that upset. So for me, I would have chose Roman Reigns as Wrestler of the Year. For Tag Team of the Year, I would have chosen the Usos. The Usos not only wrestled over 110 times last year, but even in December of 2022, you didn't have people across the globe in droves saying, wow, they're stale. I'm sick of seeing them. Oh, the fucking Usos again? No, Jey Uso arguably turned into, he probably had the best year of his career. So I would have chose the Usos, to be honest with you. Promotion of the year, I would have to choose WWE just based on revenue statistics, box office, crowds, ratings, everything across the board. If WWE had some losses last year, yeah, I would put up the argument for AEW, but just me looking at it unbiased, this is a popularity contest. That's what the awards are. They're popularity. People are not going to look at it and analyze it and this and that because, see, when you have like baseball writers awards and you have Hall of Fame and you have this and that, sure, there's some level of popularity and likeness that is part of it. But you also look at the stats, and sometimes you have to vote somebody in even if you don't like that person, because you realize that person I may not have liked, but the stats don't lie. The Observer Awards, that's not the case. It's a popularity contest. Match of the year, man, for me, I probably would have gone with Seth versus Cody, or better yet, I probably would have gone with Gunther versus Sheamus, or Ilya versus Gunther. That happened in 2022, right? Didn't it happen early in 2022? I would probably go with Ilya versus Walter. That's what I would go with. Women's MVP, I would go with Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair is, not only, had a dominant year, but it's not just about what you do in the ring. It's what you do outside the ring. It's how much eyes you bring to your product. Syuri definitely had a dominant year, but 95% of the audience out there, if I showed you a picture of her and I said, who that? I guarantee you, there'd probably have more people say, oh, that's Kairi Sane than anything else. But again, Observer Awards, Meltzer knows his readers. That's it. This is his readers, and this is who he targets. It's just like podcasters out there. There are podcasters out there who will just complain and shit and piss in the wind and scream at everything and criticize everything with no, opinion. And no, I'm not talking about JD or anything like that, because that motherfucker always tries to offer solutions. People try to twist that, and I don't like it. But there are others out there that will just complain. This sucks, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks. and there's an audience for that, and people will cater to that audience. Feud of the year. The only reason why I don't know if I would go with FTR versus the Briscoes, because in 2022, would they have 3 matches? 3 matches over 12 months. But then again, in the current world of pro wrestling, how long of a feud do you really have? I probably would have maybe chosen MJF and Punk. Probably would have chose MJF and Punk, but Punk is a dirty word right now, and that's why he probably didn't get it from the Meltzer Awards, as I see Sal wrote. And most underrated, Takeshita. I don't know. I mean, it's not a bad choice. Out of all of these picks, I think Takeshita might be the best pick of them all. But the funny thing is, he doesn't have to be most underrated. It's just that AEW is not going to elevate this motherfucker. Let's be honest. They'll give the aura and a suspension of disbelief that he'll be on the rise, but he already lost an eliminator match against MJF. He ain't got no title shot again against MJF, unless they make him win some type of tournament, which could happen. So thank you, Sal, again for the 20 spot. Much love. Want to give also a special shout out to Roger Rubio. Thank you for the 2 spot, my friend. I will absolutely be buying some coffee tomorrow. I should be having coffee right now. I am tired. I must have yawned. If I had $1 for every time I yawned in the last 30 minutes leading up to the show, I would have bought a couple of coffees. Yeah, I'm tired. It's all good. It's all good. Always got to deliver over here. All right, so now, for those in the chat, if you have a question, just write in capital letters the word question so I could see it quicker. If you have a comment that you want me to share with everyone, write in capital letters the word comment, and you comment. William says AEW Rampage stinks. Comes on Friday at 10. Well, it came on Friday at 7, and the ratings were still shitty. Rampage just doesn't have a direction. Rampage reminds me of Sunday Night Heat. Rampage reminds me of Superstars to an extent. Rampage reminds me of Main Event. Sometimes it's just matches being thrown together for the sake of matches being thrown together. And, I love this argument that people have online that AEW doesn't have storylines. They do have storylines. The problem is that a lot of them are just thrown together. A lot of them don't have a lot of time. And just because something takes 6 months to develop doesn't mean that it was brewing every week or every other week. It just means that nothing happened for 2 months. Look at Hobbs, the book of fucking Hobbs. Look at where that, we called that. The first 2 weeks that we saw that, let's see a fucking month, 2 months from now. That book of Hobbs ain't going nowhere. And now if he gets pushed, okay, I'm happy. Better late than never. But look at Action Andretti. Now people think that Action Andretti is going to join the Jericho Appreciation Society because of a little wording change on the stipulation of Jericho versus Starks at Revolution. What do I care? Just because the storyline doesn't mean it's good. Look at the House of Black versus the Elite. They just pop up 1 week. Oh my God, it's going to be amazing, unbelievable. There's no storyline to it. There's nothing. The House of Black came back 3 months ago. We are giving a death sentence to everyone. You want to make a fucking statement? You want to be a terrorist? You want to be a murderer? You want to ruin someone's house party? We don't have to be violent here. You just want to ruin, you don't just walk in and say, quiet everybody. No, you pull the fucking plug out. You turn that circuit breaker off. You're going to make a statement to the whole entire AEW locker room. You go for the top first. You make a fucking statement. You don't just show up on WWE TV, make your debut and I'm sending a message. Bobby Lashley, I'm giving notice to WWE roster. No one's going to disrespect me. And then next week he beats up Tozawa. Imagine that. For 2 months, for 5 weeks leading into WrestleMania, Bobby Lashley decides he's going to beat the fuck out of Akira Tozawa. And then he's going to beat up, a couple of indie guys. Come on. Twix is asking me who should Sting's last match be. I don't know. Maybe against Darby Allin. It's not a bad idea. You could take somebody from his history, somebody that he feuded with. You could choose a WWE guy. It's not a bad idea. In fact, Sting, I wouldn't be surprised if his last match happens in Japan. It's not, but I wouldn't be surprised if that were to happen. But hey, it might end up, you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. My gut feeling tells me Sting's last match will be unexpected. And what I mean by that is that Sting, we hope not, and I'm not wishing it. I fucking love that he's still in wrestling. Remember this. Sting is like the last of the dying breed. You go back to even 80s wrestling. I mean, Jerry Lawler, God bless him, he's getting better, but Sting is the last one for the most part. Sting is the last one. And that guy retires. That's it. For the most part, most of our childhood. And please don't give me like, but a bushwhacker still wrestles. Yeah. You imagine that? Yeah. Oh. No, just because people still wrestle from the 80s doesn't mean it's a big part. I think Sting's last match is going to be unexpected because I think he could end up with an injury that was not obviously expected that costs his career. Not saying that it's anything, that would hurt his quality of life, but I think Sting's last match could very well be unexpected because of injury. Michael Gonzalez, do I have a favorite current theme song? I like Bray Wyatt's. I like Bray Wyatt's current song. That song gets me pumped up. I like Bray Wyatt's song. Despite some of the complaints about how he's been used, I would go with Bray Wyatt's. There's a few that are bangers, but I like Bray's. Roderick Howard, will Jey Uso indirectly cost Roman the titles at WrestleMania? No. The whole Bloodline saga started with Roman and Jey. Could come full circle. I don't see it because the Usos are going to be fighting against Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns. I think if they hold Riddle off until WrestleMania, I could see Solo Sikoa being the only one in the corner of Roman Reigns, and then Riddle shows up and negates Solo Sikoa. Cody Rhodes' win is going to be clean. There's going to be no asterisk. You're not going to give the butthurt IWC that thinks that Sami Zayn should be main event in Mania against Roman. You don't want any excuse for people to say, oh, that was a cheap win. Oh, they're not doing that. Jey Uso turning on Roman Reigns to cost him the title, that could lead to a feud with Roman versus Jey, but I think Roman is taking time off. I've said that for about 7 months now, 8 months, that Roman is going to be taking some physical and emotional, he's going to take some breaks from wrestling, and it's not just, I won't wrestle a month. No, there is an emotional break that you have to take as well, and he's got to step aside for a little while. GKO, do I think there is much point in Roman retaining at WrestleMania 39? If and when the Usos lose their tag titles, do I even give Roman a shot at being Cody? No. Listen, I'm not blaming this on AEW fans, but it's just the overall culture that we live in. Too many people want cake and ice cream. Everything's got to be cake and ice cream. Everything's got to have that emoji. That emoji where it's just like the two arms like this and, I think hearts on the eyes. Like Sami Zayn, he had to win at the Chamber. They need that heart emoji. They too much cake and ice cream that everything has got to have it to be where it's almost like people will crave that yes movement one more time, and sure, they may not be able to hit the ring, but emotionally, it's that yes movement that, yes, we are the reason we got Sami to the promised land. We got Sami to the promised land. Wrestling is supposed to break your heart once in a while. Yesterday I was kind of bored for about an hour at the party, not because the party was was bad. It was just that, everybody's family is there except for my family. So I'm just sitting there and keep minding my own business. So I must have responded to about 300 comments on YouTube. One of them that stood out to me said, man, I wish Sami Zayn would have won at Elimination Chamber. And I wrote back, I know it sounds kind of like cliche, but it is. But you watch that 48-hour documentary that's going to come out of Sami Zayn's weekend of Elimination Chamber. Believe me, Sami Zayn won. Sami Zayn, he's now made. He's made. Now, does he get the championship down the line? If the stars align, sure. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Christian back in the day. A lot of people don't even think about that comparison. But Sami Zayn won Elimination Chamber weekend. He won in the eyes of WWE management. He won for the fans. He showed WWE management that the wrestling world has opened up to Sami Zayn, wrestlers, other promotions. They always knew Sami was a good guy, but Sami proved that weekend that he belongs at the top. Drew McIntyre belongs at the top. There's a lot of wrestlers now that if they main event, nobody has a problem with it. So Cody's story has to finish. Finish the story. You have to. You're not going to break that story with the Rhodes and Dusty and everything else, because the only way to fix that story is to wait another year. Nobody wants to wait another fucking year for Cody to finish that story. Cody finishes the story this year at WrestleMania, and that's it. We go from there. I've seen people the last couple of days shitting on Cody Rhodes' title reign. The motherfucker hadn't even won it yet. What if Cody's reign is kind of sucks? Then they should give it to Sami. Fuck you. Fuck you. Eat a Snickers. The official candy of WrestleMania 39. Shut up. Let the motherfucker win the title first. Then you could complain and bitch. Fucking babies, man. I fucking hate it. Chocolate M&M Blizzards. That's Williams. Okay. William M., does the bloodline get stronger or do we see it break up? I don't know if we see it break up, but there will definitely be an implosion. They're going to go from having all the gold to none of the gold. They're going to, listen, I expect that SmackDown afterwards where they're just all in the back or in the ring and they just look shocked, devastated. It's almost like, I hate to use this term. It's almost like I watched, and I'm using a really distasteful example, but best way I could put it. I just watched a couple of days ago again from 2011, that tsunami that hit Japan. That is crazy what happened in Japan, and it's awful. And you went in a matter of 2-3 hours from a city, fine, to nothing. Will it be on that level for them? No, but it's going to be like a tsunami hit the bloodline. And they're just going to be in shock, total disbelief. What happened? What happened? And then we'll get an Acme Insta feud. Someone on the roster will just laugh and we'll get a feud. I've never had a Snickers Blizzard, Gruss, but Blizzards are, I forget which ice cream place that does the Blizzards, Baskin Robbins, I think. Blizzards are good. I've seen them. I've never had one. I've made my own Blizzards, though. All right. Devin M. is asking just a random question. Who's been booked worse, Wardlow or Mustafa Ali? Easily Mustafa Ali. Because Wardlow, it's a product of AEW. There's very few people in AEW who have had a consistent push. You know what I mean? It's just consistent. And please don't say like Jade Cargill and others, because she's still learning. Wardlow is just a product of the AEW environment, so it doesn't stick out as much. Mustafa Ali, I'm being honest, the way I've seen him used, I say to myself, why did you walk out originally? Why did you protest like you did originally? Like, you came back and you got a little more TV exposure, but you still lost. and you still got murdered in a lot of cases. Maybe Mustafa Ali originally walked out because of the storyline ideas that were being pitched. But as far as results, I think Ali has been way more misused than Wardlow. Okay. Let's see. Wow, we're almost halfway done already because we're going to keep Sundays about an hour going forward. So, does AEW need a bus flip? No, they just need contracts to run out. That's it. They just need contracts to run out. Like I've said before, AEW and WWE in 2023 is going to be like an eBay auction. And people are going to search all over eBay and realize there's only one Omega. There's only one MJF. Oh, it doesn't come in blue? You mean it only comes in plaid? Oh, my God. Plaid, my favorite color. And you're going to see overbidding. You're going to see overbidding going on. I know everybody focuses on Dave Meltzer with all due respect. Oh, Vince is going to, or WWE is going to eye all of these contracts. No fucking shit. Everybody's been saying it for 3 years. 2023. Remember what I said? The year of the contract? Anybody remember that? The year of the contract? So, yeah, it's going to be like an eBay auction. Tony Khan bought too many toys. It's almost like, you see the price of cars now in 2023? Some cars are $10,000 more than what they were 2 years ago. So now just imagine someone who has bought a ton of cars and now has to like maintain all of those cars. And now has to triple pay what he paid originally to maintain those cars. That's what's going to happen to Tony Khan in 2023. Some people he is going to have to overpay big time to keep them in AEW. Believe me when I tell you. You'll never see it publicly done because the EVPs and the elite will feed the crumbs to the journalists. The journalists would never dare have the balls to go out there and say that Tony Khan grossly overpaid for this person, this person, and this person, and this person because WWE made a pitch. You know, I mean, it's like monopoly money. It's almost like somebody walking out of a relationship. Please, please, I'll do better. Please, 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 grabbing their leg. Please, please, please. I'll do anything. Please, I'll do that. That's what's going to happen. Please, please, please. They want to give you $2 million. I'll give you $20 million. And motherfucker, honestly, you think Tony Khan really manages his money? He's got tons of it. God bless him. Do whatever you want with it. But do you really think that he really negotiated these contracts well? I don't know. Doesn't feel that way. So suddenly he's going to be like, the eco or economist, well, I believe that your value has actually got, imagine back in the 50s or the early 60s when Mickey Mantle, they offered him a pay cut because they felt that he underperformed and something. Just think about that. Now, I know I'm doing an outdated reference. You could use anybody from today. Choose Mike Trout or somebody else from today. Imagine you think, well, to really think about it, 2022 is not a really good. If they're Tony Khan boys, he will overpay. William is asking, who do I think buys WWE? I think Comcast in the end. I really don't think it's going to be Saudi Arabia. I think there's too much negativity attached to it. Listen, if Saudi Arabia buys it and goes private, and Saudi Arabia, with all due respect, Saudi Arabia would be like, I don't give a fuck how you feel. I don't give a fuck how any of you feel. We own the company. You want to watch WWE? Then you fucking watch it. You want to buy a ticket? Buy a ticket. Look at the options out there. Look at the alternatives. I think if they go private, they could care less. But, there's going to be some wrestlers that will not work for WWE. There will be advertisers that will not do business with WWE. There will be a lot of buildings that I think would give them a little bit of a harder time. I just don't see Saudi Arabia buying it. I would be shocked. Wouldn't be surprised. I'd be shocked simply because I don't think, it would be that easy. I don't think it would be that easy. It's not like if they bought it and allowed everybody to stay in charge, maybe. But I feel like Comcast. But remember what I said, everyone, because people are still not bringing it up. If they don't get this deal done by the summertime, there ain't no deal this year because they have to negotiate TV. And they're not going to negotiate new TV rights and then go to Comcast and say, you want to buy it still? Fuck you. I can't even put it on my own network. Understand that. Think about that. And again, for not you, but maybe some random people, there's like, oh, what the fuck is Don Tony still doing with this fucking podcast shit? This is directed to them. All these brain dead people out there that think that Tony and Shad Khan would buy WWE. Yeah, and then what? What if there's a TV deal renegotiated with Fox and USA Network? Do you honestly think that Warner Media is going to be happy that Tony Khan and Shad Khan own WWE and they're on a rival network? It's just ridiculous. It's not that simple to explain, but it's just, you just think of just common sense. And if you notice, the business world is not even including Tony Khan or AEW in the conversation anymore. If you look at the last two business articles that have talked about the WWE sale, the negotiations going on, they don't even bring them up because they know they're not stupid. They know that it makes no sense whatsoever. They know that it's more of a child, a petulant child that is like, I want my name and publicity. So let them think that I might want to buy it. Yeah, I want to buy it too. Put my fucking name out there too. I'm going to do a crowdfunding to buy WWE. Put my name on. I'm dead serious. Oh my God. Do I have to do this? No, I'm going to wait till Monday. This $9 billion thing. Come on. You guys saw my video from 3 weeks ago. The stock value is $6.5 billion. Breaking news, Dave Meltzer knows how to use math. He added everybody's stock shares and multiplied it by the current price and got $6.5 million. The reason why Vince McMahon wants $6.5 billion. The reason why Vince McMahon wants $9 billion is because the company is worth a lot more than just the stock value. They own libraries. They have almost not a monopoly on wrestling, but they have just so much footage that could be repurposed. There is so much content that we have never even seen. It's not just, listen, when you buy a house, the house may be worth $600,000. You come to me right now, Don Tony, I want insurance for my house. I say, okay, your house is worth $600,000, but I could get $900,000 for it. Why? Because you have land. You have land. I don't insure the land for other than liability because land, there's this phrase in insurance that land doesn't burn. So WWE doesn't just own a house, they own land. That's why they want $9 billion. But nobody thinks like that. So all these people that are clickbaiting about, oh, Vince is greedy, he wants $9 billion instead of $6.5 billion. No fucking shit. No shit. Because he doesn't just own a house, he owns land. And the land is worth something. Do I think WWE gets $9 billion? No, I think probably $8 billion. And I know people are like, well, that's close enough. No, it's still $1 billion less. I think, listen, the value is 6.5. He wants 9. You kind of like settle in the middle. 7.5 to $8 billion. $6.759 billion. Monopoly money, everybody. My thoughts on the Ohio train incident, fucked up. Totally fucked up. I actually going to be watching some YouTube videos today, later tonight, about some of the stuff going on. You know what I've been binge watching lately on YouTube? Some of you are going to curse me for this, but you're going to thank me as well. Only in Japan. Only in Japan. Any of you ever seen the channels like Pay-Per-View Cats? Any of you out there ever seen channels? One of them is called Pay-Per-View Cats, PPV Cats. Any of you know what I'm talking about? Some people in Japan have decided, they had this idea. It's been around for a little while. I just never saw it before with my own eyes. There's a couple of people in Japan who came up with this idea. You know the GoPro cameras? I have a brand new GoPro. I have like a GoPro 5, a GoPro 6. I've never used it because originally I thought I was going to do cooking with Don Tony and I was going to strap it to my chest and show everybody me cutting garlic with, with razor blades until, I realized that, my hands, well, right now they don't shake too much, but you could see like my hands shake a little bit. Yesterday I was trying to have ice cream cake and I think because they had too much caffeine, I'm not trying to make fun of him. I look like Michael J. Fox yesterday. I picked up the thing of ice cream and I looked like I was brushing my teeth. Anyway, a couple of people in Japan came up with this idea to take GoPros and wrap it around a cat's chest. And they connect it to their server and they just hit record. And it shows the cat just like running through the neighborhood. And the cat's catching a mouse and eating it live. Cat is licking another cat's asshole. They're trying to like find territory, looking for food. I'm telling you, be glued to it. There's no cruelty involved. I don't want, like, when I first saw it, I was like, wow, that's kind of fucked up. But the GoPro is so small. And I don't even think it's a GoPro. It's probably one of those microscopic cameras. I have yet to see one cat be like you don't see that at all. But it's on the cat and you're just watching the cat like run through the, plus the most amazing thing is like, there was one I was watching today that the cat is on the ground and there's a tree that goes up maybe 40 feet. And you're watching your screen and the cat is looking up and I'm like, no way. And the cat with the claws like this and all of a sudden up the tree. I'm like, oh, that's fucking amazing. And then they jump off of roofs of houses. I'm like, my legs would have been broken in half. I would have been Sid Vicious. Seriously, I would have been Sid Vicious. We haven't seen that yet. I haven't seen a GoPro cat jump off and do a Sid Vicious. But I'm telling you, you watch it tonight, I promise you're going to be like, DT, what the fuck did you introduce me to? Just look up GoPro cats or pay-per-view cats and just watch some of it. The funny thing is that some of these cats, there was one video, I wish I would have saved the link. There was one video where the cat was screaming out to other cats and there were no cats around. And the cat, you heard it starting to cry a little bit. You kind of felt bad. Then all of a sudden, a cat popped out of nowhere and they're licking each other in the mouth and he's licking the other cat's ass. And I'm like, you kind of feel like you could wonder what they're thinking. GoPro cats, man. I'm telling you, go watch it. You'll appreciate it. All right, let's get back to wrestling. All right, I'm scrolling up. Was it Dairy Queen or Baskin Robbins ice cream cake? Me, it was neither one. For me, Carvel. I grew up on Cookie the Puss and the Whale. That's what I grew up with, Carvel. There's still a Carvel by my house. Every year when we have birthdays, in fact, my birthday's coming up in March, and my mom will always buy a Carvel cake. Now, since I'm off keto, I'll eat it. I'll definitely eat it. Carvel cake with the cookie crunch in the middle. Carvel, man. All right. Kevin Milwaukee with a comment. Alex P. Keaton would have made for a perfect sitcom the way politics are a ridiculous joke these days. Let me tell you something. I don't know how old Michael J. Fox is, but I'm probably a few years younger than him. When he did Family Ties, that was my first true exposure to politics. And even conservative Republicans more specifically. I remember when Reagan got shot because my mom was watching this freaking soap opera that Ray Liotta. Remember Ray Liotta in Goodfellas, God rest his soul? He was on a soap opera on TV in 1981, was it? 81, I think it was, when Reagan got shot and they interrupted the soap opera. I'm like, thank God. Ray Liotta, if you ever see the news footage from that day, look out for the one that the soap opera that was on that day, because some idiot was recording it, because you see Ray Liotta on the screen. Next thing you know, we interrupt this broadcast to bring you this. But Family Ties was really my first introduction to conservative Republicans. And it was interesting. It was interesting. I was obviously too young to classify which way I was, but I was a big fan of Family Ties back then. I thought it was a really good. He's 61. Oh, yeah, so he is much older than me. He is much older than me. Man, somebody brought to my attention that who just turned 79 or 80? I think it was Chevy Chase. So I think because they watched Cornette the other day, because I know Cornette brought it up as well, and I'm like, holy shit, the motherfucker is 80 years old. That's just mind-boggling. When you think about, National Lampoon's Vacation and Caddyshack and other, and the motherfucker is 80 years old, man. I think it probably makes me most depressed about Bill Murray, how old he has become. I still remember when I saw Stripes in the movie theaters, one of my favorite movies of all time. John Candy and Hulka. Hulka was awesome in there. All right. I don't know how we diverted from wrestling again, but let's get back to wrestling. Again, if you have a question in the chat, post it. Super shout outs, Devin M. Thank you very much, my friend. $5 super chat. More coffee for me. Tomorrow, I'm going to take Roger and Devin's coffee. You're going to be like this. I'm going to be like this. I'm not going to fuck with the camera, but Joe Pesci is 80. Oh, my God. Do you think about that? Joe Pesci is 80 years old. That's crazy, man. That motherfucker, I still never forgive him for not hanging around my dad's house. He promised that he was going to hang around, take pictures, hang out by the pool for a little while when they were filming The Good Shepherd. And that motherfucker went in the backseat of a car, laid low, and left. All right. GKO with another question. What do I think happens to Solo Sikoa after Mania? If Roman and the Usos go away for a lot, I don't think the Usos are going away. I think they get a little bit of a deserved vacation. I think Riddle is going to feud with Solo Sikoa a little bit. Solo Sikoa's character, let me tell you something. After Mania, Solo Sikoa's character is going to change a little bit. You haven't seen it yet, but we may even see Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa versus the Usos in 2023. I'm not saying for sure, but they are, as I said on yesterday's show, they are preparing Roman and Solo versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I don't know if it'll be a televised match or it'll be a house show or maybe both, but they have to go from one to the other. Roman Reigns not happy with Jay. Roman is going to almost feel like Solo Sikoa is the one that he trusts the most. And storyline-wise, that's big for Solo Sikoa. But Solo Sikoa's character is going to change a little bit after WrestleMania. Be on the lookout for that. And Solo Sikoa is good, man. Solo Sikoa is excellent. I brought it up before. I was at NXT when he came back for that surprise appearance and won the North American Championship, but then had to forfeit it. So Pat McAfee will be back in time for WrestleMania. He will be back commentating. He left because of college sports, and now because, and listen, I brought this up before, there's going to be a chain reaction with Pat McAfee back. Understand that. And as I've also said before, I wonder if Kevin Patrick is the casualty out of all of this. I'm none against Kevin Patrick, but I don't know. I mean, he's been better. He's been better. But, many times when he does the commentating, you feel like he just ran a marathon or he just got late. He's always out of breath. Like he just talks. He just sounds like he's out of breath. And he's so excited. And, he's learning on the job. Listen, you know why I don't throw a lot of shade against him? Because I remember Vic Joseph. Vic Joseph, when he was first doing Raw, I thought he did a great job. Gave me Joey Styles vibes a little bit. Didn't have the names of all the moves, but as far as a young guy, gave me Joey Styles vibes. And then there was a lot of people that felt that that Vic Joseph did not do a good job. And I was like, wow, I'm a little surprised at that. Now, the fucking guy is killing it in NXT. But understand when Pat McAfee returns, there's going to be a chain reaction. What do you do with Wade Barrett? And as I've said many times, I think Wade Barrett goes back to NXT. I think Booker T as commentating was temporary. I think Booker T will eventually leave commentating sooner than you realize. And then they have to decide, what are they going to do with Raw? Are they going to leave it the way it is? What if Booker T doesn't leave right now? Does Wade Barrett go to Raw? I don't think so, because Wade Barrett and Corey Graves together, that would be kind of like, nah, that's like Jesse Ventura and Bobby Heenan together. It wouldn't mesh. I wonder if Kevin Patrick is not the casualty out of this, I think Booker T will be. And I'm not saying that Booker T is doing a bad job. It's just I think Booker T will go back to, more of his podcast, his school. Remember, he's got a school, and it's a damn good one. I think Booker T may end up being the casualty out of all of this. So, but yeah, Pat McAfee will be back very soon. All right. William M., how long do I see them keeping Paul Heyman? As long as Paul Heyman wants to do it. Paul Heyman, he has let go the insistence on the creative. WWE management has also let go on not giving Paul Heyman that creative trust to, ad lib a little bit and tweak things a little bit. What happened in the early 2000s is long gone. As long as Paul Heyman still wants to do it, and WWE still wants to pay him, because Paul Heyman does get paid nicely, very nicely, as long as he wants to do it. But I feel like Paul Heyman deserves a little bit of a rest as well. As a selfish wrestling fan, I don't want him off TV at all. Paul, you're a machine. You're a robot. You're a mechanical walrus. Stay on my TV. I don't care how burned out you are. As a selfish wrestling fan, that's how I feel, but he definitely has earned a little bit of a break. Stephen Chambers says, AEW having trouble selling out Revolution. Where do I see this pay-per-view will go? I'll be honest with you. As of right now, I know this sounds ridiculous, but I am not interested in seeing Revolution. MJF versus Bryan Danielson will be fun. It'll be 60 minutes. It will be storytelling. There'll be a lot of brutality. And I think in the end, MJF retains, but I've seen 60-minute Broadways with Bryan Danielson on Dynamite with Hangman Page. I don't think that 60-minute Iron Man match warrants paying $60. A lot of other matches, I really don't have that much interest in. I don't see the trios titles being changed. If you're going to say to me, oh, DT, you should want to watch the matches simply for match quality, I've seen hundreds of matches in the last year for match quality. I could wait and not pay $60. I don't have to watch Hangman Page and Jon Moxley live and pay $60 for it. I don't need to see, the tag team match. Maybe Private Party gets added to it, and it's all young guys and Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett trying to help elevate them a little bit as well, the young guys. Like, I could wait a week and watch it for free. As of right now, don't know if I'm ordering it. I don't know if I'm going to do a recap either. I'm certainly not going to recap something I didn't watch. Right now, I'm just not feeling it. Problem with Dynamite is when every week you try to make it feel like a pay-per-view, where every week people are like, oh, if this was a pay-per-view, I would pay some money for this. Well, then pay-per-view comes and things are being thrown together 2 weeks before. Just because it's quality name versus quality name doesn't mean like, oh, take my money. Take my money. Whatever you want, Tony. Just take it all. Here, look. Here's my hundreds, Tony. Take it all. Just take all my money. Just take all my hundreds. Take it all. No. Not going to waste my time. I'd rather take my wife out and go get something to eat and then maybe have a little dessert later. I'd rather go to sleep. Get a nice, good night's sleep for a change. You think I want to stay up till 1 a.m.? And then everybody's like, oh, I'm not tuning in live. I'm going to watch the media scrum and see if anything happens. You know, what am I going to stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning for then? Rocky Red with an interesting one. It's my favorite cereal mascot of all time. Probably Tony the Tiger, simply because what's his face used to be the voice of Tony the Tiger. Chat room, I'm forgetting his name right now. The one with the porn star mustache, who's deceased, unfortunately. He used to work at WCW, used to do the 1-800-COLLECT. Who remembers, who was the guy who used to do the 1-800? Lee Marshall. Thank you, Kevin Milwaukee. How many of you out there that did not know this? Lee Marshall, that used to do AWA and WCW and a few other promotions. Lee Marshall was the voice of Tony the Tiger. Great! That was him. He was one. I mean, he wasn't the only one. Trust me, Lee Marshall wasn't doing it in the 40s. But Lee Marshall, man. All right. Let's see. I'm looking at comments. I'm looking at questions. Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal is good. I got so pissed off at myself the other day. I would bought Amazon Fresh, just some groceries. And I don't buy cereal because I eat cereal like potato chips. And the box will be gone in one day. And I saw this brand, because I do not buy peanut butter crunch anymore, Captain Crunch. Peanut butter crunch is like a vice for me. I treat it like drugs. Like if you give it to me, the box will be in a million pieces in an hour. So I never buy peanut butter crunch. So I go on Amazon Fresh and there's this brand called Puffins. Puffins. And it's peanut butter puffins. Oh, it's 20% less calories than the brand. So I bought a box. It was gone in one day. It was gone in one day. Puffins. Now my face looks like puffins. But yes, isn't Cinnamon Toast Crunch, aren't they supposed to have the WrestleMania gimmick match? All right, John Vickers, do I think Paul Heyman jumps as Cody Rhodes' manager when he gets the titles? I don't think it's needed. Cody Rhodes doesn't need Paul Heyman as an executive consultant. If you want to go back to the Bobby Heenan days, he doesn't need it. Paul Heyman is great what he does. Paul Heyman needs to have that full-blown top heel. Paul Heyman, listen, when Paul Heyman goes in the Hall of Fame, which I believe will be at WrestleMania 40, people will show their love for Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman will be crying like a baby. But Paul Heyman, he's got to remain a heel. And Cody ain't turning heel anytime soon. Bash 8 is asking me, should they put Kevin Patrick in NXT? Why? Well, no, I wouldn't want to see that. Listen, Vic Joseph, I definitely have an appreciation for him. I think his NXT work is spectacular. Not as much pressure compared to Raw. You do not tinker with Vic Joseph. Let him keep doing what he's doing. His wife works with him. So, he must be loving that aspect of it as well. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. I think Kevin Patrick landed a deal doing commentating for soccer. I could have sworn I saw that somewhere, that he recently landed a deal that he was going to be like a commentator for soccer. I'm not saying he's leaving WWE, but what if that builds and Kevin Patrick leaves WWE to pursue other sports? It's happened in the past with others. It could happen again. All right, so we're wrapping this up in 5 minutes, everyone. So I'm trying to spread out the questions. That's why, some people I've answered more than once, trying to answer some that haven't sent one yet. Dragon Den, what do I think about Heyman being Cody's rival like Hogan and Heenan? I don't see that either. Paul Heyman, like Brock and Roman, was a great rival because Paul Heyman was the manager of Brock Lesnar for a long time, the advocate. But you don't, in 2023, you don't want to attach Paul Heyman to any one person unless the person that Paul Heyman's managing is feuding with the other person. If Cody and Roman have a 6-month feud after WrestleMania, then maybe. But no, in order for Paul Heyman would have to have a whole, Heyman alliance, and each one goes after Cody Rhodes, and I don't see that happening. So there's no need to have that. What Heenan was to Hogan is what Heyman should be to this person. I don't think it would really work in 2023. And Paul Heyman, he will be remembered for being the advocate for Brock Lesnar, for being the manager or advocate for Roman Reigns, Dangerous Alliance, ECW, and a couple other things mixed in. And people always give him credit for SmackDown in the early 2000s. I mean, that's pretty much what everybody will summarize. If you had to summarize, like you see like a Hall of Fame plaque for a sports player, and it'll list a couple of the accolades, that's pretty much what would be on Paul Heyman's Hall of Fame plaque. All right. Oh, by the way, so people talking about predictions. Robert Swanson, Bob O'Mac. I got to make it official on the community section tonight or tomorrow, but you won the Elimination Chamber predictions contest on YouTube. So congratulations, Robert Swanson. All right. Theme Parks with Johnny with a 10 spot. Thank you very much, my friend. Do I remember any wrestling on the radio back in the 90s on every Sunday? What I remember, how long did I have Devin's coffee on the screen all this time? I just realized that. So thank you, Devin, again. Do I remember any wrestling on the radio? What I remember is this. I remember John Arezzi. John Arezzi used to do a lot of wrestling on the radio. I used to get cassette tapes. When I first started trading with my friends, we would get like wrestling tapes and we would trade with each other. But once in a while, someone would be like, oh, I got this tape, this guy and this and that. And I, for the first bunch of time that he was on the air, I had no idea that he was even doing it. Also, there was WFAN. Was it Steve Summers? Someone out there is going to know who's live. There was somebody who was on WFAN at like 2 o'clock in the morning, I think on a Saturday night in the 90s, and they would cover wrestling for like a half an hour. And I would come home sometimes from going out with my friends, and it would be like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and they'd be talking wrestling. I can't tell you how many times I would park my car in front of my house, and they would be talking about something wrestling, and I would just sit in my car at like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And it was amazing. Believe it or not, I never heard Vince Russo doing what he was doing when he was doing it. I was a Vic Venom. Was he doing? I can't remember right now, but I never ever heard any of his stuff at that time. But John Arezzi, I remember, and WFAN, I remember. Rich Mancuso, thank you, Chaos. Rich Mancuso and Jody Mack, that's what it was. Yes, mid-90s. I used to go out with my friends, come home late at night. They'd be talking wrestling, and I would park in front of my house. I didn't want to go in my house because I still lived with, I did still live with my parents at the time. And, like I wasn't going to turn the radio on in my house at like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, but I would just sit in my car and I would just chill and listen to them talk wrestling. I wish I would have taped some of it. There's got to be footage of them talking wrestling from WFAN. Somebody had to have taped it. Especially in the mid-90s. Come on, we were going from cassette tapes to CDs. There were enough people who were still doing cassette tapes. There's got to be people out there who recorded it. I never did a YouTube search. I'm going to do a YouTube search tonight. I'm going to see if I'm going to just search wrestling, WFAN. I want to see if anything comes up. Chaos says it is on YouTube. I got to go check it out tonight. Pay-per-view cats, GoPro cats. You'll have to wait a couple of days for me to watch it again. But, I'm going to go check that out tonight. All of you should. If for any reason, check out what it was like for yours truly, Chaos, and others to be a wrestling fan in the mid-90s. That's right around when ECW was really gaining popularity here in the Northeast. I'm curious. I don't remember any particular conversations. I wonder if they brought them up. I'm sure that they did. But if you want to get a good idea what it was like to be a wrestling fan in the mid-90s and tune into AM radio and hear AM radio talking about pro wrestling, you'll get a good taste of it. I'm excited, man, because I have not heard 1 second of their footage since the mid-90s. So I could go back, listen to it, and be like, wow, this is fucking amazing. Or I might go back and listen to it and be like, oh, my God, they were fucking marks. They were awful. They didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. I'm not going to criticize them. Yeah, I'm going to tune in and see. Because at that time, you really didn't have anything else. I mean, Meltzer's newsletter was around. But as far as hearing someone, you just had the WCW hotline, 1-900-909-9900. In 96, you had Brian Pillman's hotline, 1-900-909-PILL. You had that perv, what the hell was his name? He had a wrestling hotline too. He was a pervert. I think he was ended up being a sexual offender. Someone in the chat. Chaos probably knows what I'm talking about. Who was that guy that had the wrestling hotline that he ended up being a perv? Coach Kirk. Was that Coach Kirk? Why does that not sound right? It might have been Coach Kirk. He might have been the perv. And then I started doing mine in 97. I started doing mine in 1997. So, I probably indirectly got inspired by WFAN, Talking Wrestling. I don't remember if I ever called in, though. I don't honestly remember if I ever called in. I'd be lying if I ever said it. Wouldn't that be amazing if I go on YouTube and there's all this footage and I click on it and I'm listening to it, all of a sudden, Anthony from Middle Village is on the line. I don't remember if I ever called in. But I was calling wrestling hotlines at the time. So I don't know if it's Coach Kirk. He was a hotline guy, but there was someone else. And don't just start throwing out names because then we'll accuse every person at that time of being a perv. This person ended up being legit perv, got into legitimate criminal trouble. All right, let's wrap this up in 3 minutes. Who would I like to see win King and Queen of the Ring in May? I have no idea. It is so early. Maybe Montez Ford for one of them. The women's side, I have to see who's champion coming out of Mania. We got Backlash as well, and Backlash is happening before King and Queen of the Ring. Too soon to tell. But Montez Ford comes to mind almost immediately. All right, thank you, Chaos. Go to Mr. Moop, M-O-O-P on YouTube. I will definitely do that tonight. Okay, let's do 2 more questions and let's call it. So tomorrow we got Raw. It's going to be loaded, man. Brock is going to answer Omos's challenge. Ronda Rousey's going to be on. It's going to be interesting to see why she's on. I still don't understand why she's going to be on, but she's being advertised as being on. Lita and Becky Lynch going for the tag titles. I don't believe it's going to happen. I think Bayley gets involved, and this leads to Trish Stratus coming in, and that has the 6-woman tag at WrestleMania. That's what we talked about last Monday. I'm sticking with it. Hey, who knows? Maybe Bayley tries to get involved, and Trish is there tomorrow and negates Bayley, and maybe Lita and Becky Lynch do win the tag titles. There's 2 different ways. I just don't see Lita staying around past Mania, just like the Saudi Arabia. Like, we got that vibe with Saudi Arabia, like, wow, she could still go. Let's hope she stays around for a little while. And she didn't. And it wasn't her fault, because I remember she was on social media like, guys, I wish I could, so we will see. Yeah, Kevin Wilkie brings out a good point. Maybe Dakota Kai is injured enough that they got to take the titles off of them. The only reason why I kind of disagree with that is because if she was that injured, she can't even fight tomorrow. And they could do something where Bayley steps in for Dakota Kai. Why not? Sami Zayn stepped in for Jimmy Uso, it was Jimmy Uso. We've had people step in for others. So Bayley could simply just step in for Dakota Kai. And the 6-woman tag, if it happens at Mania, there's not going to be a need for matches every single week. I'm sure, Trish and Lita would like to get a little ring rust off, but they're not going to, have fans get totally used to them being on TV again. So Gruss is asking me who's better, Montez or Dawkins. It's a little bit of an unfair question because they're both two totally different styles. I will say this because I'm always straight up. Montez Ford, I definitely see a much higher ceiling, but I do not believe that Angelo Dawkins is the Jannetty of the group. Angelo Dawkins will break out, and he should map out a nice career for himself as well. You look at the Shield. You look at the New Day. Yes, Kofi had his amazing moment at Mania. Big E ended up mapping out, really good career. Hopefully he comes back. Xavier Woods has turned it up a notch. Nobody is the Jannetty of that team. Nobody was the Jannetty of the Shield. Just because two people break apart in a tag team doesn't mean that someone always has to be the Jannetty. Montez Ford, I see a higher ceiling, but that doesn't mean that Angelo Dawkins won't have one either. So, all right. I am going to jet out of here. I thank you all as always. Great conversation. I will be skimming through this back so we could put up a little synopsis for everybody on the replay. And if you're around tomorrow night after Raw at 11:05 p.m., I will be right here. We will recap Raw, get into the weekend ratings. We definitely have some interesting stuff to talk about. As we said yesterday, very interesting what the AEW announcements rating was, not for the whole show, but for that quarter. We talked about that yesterday. But we will have some other numbers as well. And interesting, once again, when you think about Braun Breaker and what he's doing in NXT. And, God bless all of you out there who challenged me about NXT fans booing Braun Breaker. Most of you out there don't watch NXT on a regular basis who leave me that comment. Otherwise, you would have seen for 2 months that the fans, they love Braun Breaker. They want to see Braun Breaker kill it on the main roster. But as far as every week on NXT goes, it's time for something fresh, something new. It feels like Braun Breaker is retaining because he has to be the champion. It's time for Carmelo Hayes to take that reign. That's why the fans are booing. Not because they don't like Braun Breaker. They're not stabbing him in the back. They're just sending a message to NXT. Okay, enough is enough. Time to put Braun Breaker on the main roster. Give Carmelo Hayes. We want him to be the leader of our company that we religiously watch every single week. And that's what's going to happen. Easy peasy. If you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. If you know anyone else out there that you think would like the show, let them know about the channel. We try to have different content every show. Mondays is mostly Raw and ratings. Tuesday is history. So happy we brought that back. Amazing response. I thank everybody for all your feedback. And, we still have the first season, which will come out. I know we're doing it kind of backwards, but there's a reason behind it. And when we get to later in the year and you see what I do next, it'll all make sense. But people are loving that. And Wednesdays is mostly NXT and AEW. Every so often on Thursdays, we do Q&A when needed. We should be doing one Thursday if enough questions come in. If not, we'll do it next Thursday. And then the weekend, Saturday is pretty much, a smorgasbord. And we have some big discussions on Saturday, and Sunday is a Q&A. So much love, everybody. I'll see you all again, hopefully Monday night after Raw.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the hosts. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's alright. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.